Okay, guys, this video is going to be designed to help you with your homework. You need to have the handout that I gave to you at the beginning of class, and you need a blank sheet of notebook paper as well. Part of the assignment will be done on the handout itself, and the other part will be done on the notebook paper. I'm going to go ahead and do problem number 1. So you should work this problem as I work it for you so that you can use that as an example for the other problems that will be due tomorrow. We're going to be working on slope. We studied slope quite a bit before we went on Christmas break. So I'm going to review what you already know about slope, and I'm going to add a new piece to it. So part of this assignment will be spiral back review, and the other piece will be doing something different. By the end of this, you'll have 3 different methods that you can use for calculating the slope of a line. And different context will determine which method you will use. So let's take a look at number 1 on the handout that I gave you. You already know how to calculate the slope of a line of a graph. We did this quite a bit right before Christmas. We know that a line is a line because the slope is constant between any 2 points. So to calculate the steepness or the slope of a line, all we need to do is choose 2 points on the line and write down the ratio of the rise over the run. And that ratio that we get is a number that quantifies how steep that line is. So they've made it quite easy for you right here. On this line, they've given you 2 points that have whole number coordinates. They're going to make it real easy for you to use to calculate slope. So if we look at the first point, the point that is right there at the origin, we know the first point has coordinates uh, 0, 0, and the second point has coordinates 2, 1. So we want to pick a point. It doesn't matter which point that we use, and we want to move from one point to the next, and we're going to move only vertically, which will give us our rise, and then after that horizontally, which will give us our run. So if we start at ordered pair 0, 0, and we want to move to ordered pair 2, 1, you can see that I'm going to have to rise up. My vertical movement is up 1, so my rise is positive 1. If I were moving down, I would have a rise of negative 1. So I know that the rise is positive 1, but I'm still not at the point that I was trying to get to. I was trying to get to ordered pair 2, 1. So I have to run. Well, I'm going to run to the right, and I'm actually going to run to the right 2 units. My run is 2, and I'm moving to the right, so it's positive 2. If I were moving to the left, I would say that my run is negative 2. So 1/2 is the ratio that I get when I write the rise over the run. So if I ask you how steep this line is, you would say it has a steepness of 1/2. Now, like I said, the ratio of rise over run is the same between any 2 points when you have a linear relationship. So I could have chosen another 2 points on this line, and I'm going to do it for you just to make a point. So right here I have ordered pair 4, 2. I could have used 4, 2 and 2, 1, and I could have started at 4, 2. And if I did that, you notice that if I start at 4, 2, I would have to rise down. So that means my rise here would be negative 1, which you may think to yourself, wait a minute, this isn't going to give me the same number that I got when I went from 0, 0 to 2, 1. But let's finish this out and see what happens. After I rise down 1, which I think I used the incorrect color. I'm all about color coordinating, so let's just change the colors here just so we can be a little more precise. So I'm going to rise down 1, so my rise is negative 1, but then I have to run. But I'm going to run to the left. And when you run to the left, your run is negative. When your movement horizontally is to the left, you have a negative run. So we have -1 over -2, but we all know that -1 divided by -2, because that fraction bar is the same as a division symbol, negative divided by a negative is a positive, so it is equivalent to 1/2. So no matter what 2 points I use, I'm still going to get that the slope of this line is 1/2. All right, that's using the graph. But let's go ahead and use another method that I've taught you. We've learned that slope and rate of change are the same thing. So when we call it slope, we define it to be rise over run, but when we call it rate of change, we're looking at the change that's occurring in the y values from one point to the next in relation to the change that's occurring in the x values from one point to the next. So let's use the same two ordered pairs that we used when we did it graphically, but we're going to put them in a table. So I've got an XY table. I have ordered pair 0, 0 and ordered pair 2, 1. I want to look at the ratio of the change in y over the change in x. Well, let's start with our y's. If I start with ordered pair 0, 0 and I move to ordered pair 2, 1, the change that's occurring in my y's is I'm going up by 1. From 0 to 1, there's an increase of 1. And likewise, the change that's occurring in the x's, my delta x, is an increase of 2. If I go from 0 to 2, I'm going up 2. So once again, I'm going to get that the slope, the rate of change, is 1/2. So I get the same number that I got when I did it graphically. That's the second method. And 1B should be worked. If you notice right here, you should do this on your notebook paper. I want you to have this for each problem. I want to see where you've actually taken the ordered pairs, put them in a table, use the delta y over delta x formula to find that slope and to verify it's the same as what you got when you did it graphically. And we're going to check ourselves again. We're going to use a third method. We're going to use something called the slope equation. Now this is brand new. You haven't used this before. So on your notebook paper, you're now going to put down 1C. And the slope equation is this. M, which represents slope, M is the letter that we use to represent slope, is equal to the ratio of y sub 2 minus y sub 1 all over x sub 2 over x sub 1. Now you may be a little overwhelmed with this because this formula looks a little different than anything that we've seen before. But really, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 is your change in y, or your rise. And x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is your change in x, or your run. We're just doing it algebraically. So let me show you how we go about doing it using the slope formula. You may be given two ordered pairs that are on a line. For example, we know in the line to the left, ordered pair 0, 0 is on that line, and ordered pair 2, 1 is on the line. And let's say they don't give you the graph and they ask you to find the slope. Use the slope formula to find the slope. What you're going to do is you're going to plug these coordinates from these two ordered pairs into this formula. And the way you go about it is you designate which number is x1, x2, y1, y2. So let me tell you, it's common sense. If you look at the first ordered pair 0, 0, 0 is the x coordinate of that first ordered pair. So x sub 1 is 0. And 0 is the y coordinate of that first ordered pair. So y sub 1 is 0. So it makes sense when we go over to the second ordered pair that x sub 2 is going to be the x coordinate of the second ordered pair, and y sub 2 is the y coordinate of the second ordered pair. So now that you've designated what the different components of this formula are, you can easily just substitute those numbers in. So for example, let's just take a look at y. The formula says, okay, write y sub 2. Well, y sub 2 is the number 1. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to substitute in 1 for y sub 2. Now the formula says subtract y sub 1. So I'm going to subtract, and then I have to go over to my ordered pairs, and I have to see what y sub 1 is. And if I look over here, y sub 1 is 0. So in my numerator, I have 1 minus 0. That is y sub 2 minus y sub 1. Next, the formula says, okay, now go to x sub 2. So I have to identify what x sub 2 is, and I can look right here. X sub 2 is 2, so I'm going to write down 2. The formula says I have to subtract from x sub 2, x sub 1. So I'm going to go over to my ordered pairs where I've designated what everything is, and I notice that x sub 1 is 0. So I'm going to substitute in 0 for x sub 1. So my slope formula now says the slope will be the ratio of 1 minus 0, which is 1, over 2 minus 0, which is 2. So once again, I've used a different method for calculating slope. And the point of this exercise is to have you practice the methods that you've already been taught, and then also learn how to use this formula, because the reality is as you move into higher levels of mathematics, you're going to have to understand how to use complicated formulas like this, because in the end they will make your work easier for you. You just have to understand how to use them. All right, so all of this will be due tomorrow. If you get to work, you should be able to get this done during class today. Thank you.